For most League players, hitting Diamond is their first big dream goal. But from first-hand experience, I know that hitting Diamond is not easy at all. I see it every single day in my coaching program where students are struggling breaking through Emerald or even below that because they just don't really understand what the journey to Diamond actually looks like. So today we're going to be diving deep on that journey to Diamond by inviting a player from my coaching program that just reached Diamond for the first time, and we're going to be interviewing him and talking directly towards what his experience was climbing all the way from silver to diamond in the span of 1.5 years, which is an amazing climb to achieve. Give him some love in the comments because he's an amazing guy, and if you're currently on your way to diamond, this is an absolute must watch because there's going to be many golden nuggets on fundamentals or things to look out for in your journey, but it's also just going to relate to the struggles and the problems of climbing to diamond, and especially the big fucking emerald wall. Enjoy the video, boys. So Ben, feel free to introduce yourself a little bit, and let's start with talking about your league journey. Where did you all start all the way back?
Yeah, so I feel like I've kind of had two lives as a league player. There's the pre-MLA period of my league life, which was dramatically different than after I joined the program. I played league for basically as long as I can remember. I think over half my life now. I've been playing since season 3, so I think that was like 13 years ago. I'm 26 now, so it's a long time. But I've never really made a climb before that I was super proud of. I think I got to gold 5 in season 5, but I don't really think I hit any higher since. So that's a decade of being in bronze and silver.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wasn't a guy that was just playing like ARAMs or like just normals. Like I would go through, a few months at a time of playing till 4 a.m. Like I'll just spam games, played a lot. And, looking back at what I knew back then, I played for a decade, but I couldn't tell you like what slow pushing was, like side laning. I didn't even know what these terms meant, and I'd played the game for so long. I had a terrible relationship with the game as well. I used to be like terribly toxic. I got like probably over 20 accounts banned, and just every time I'd get banned, I would just buy a new one. Like they're $10, I'd just buy a new one, and I'd just go straight back to my same ways, like flaming, inting, like real inting as well. Like on League of Graphs, it says how many like a leaderboard of most deaths, and I'd try to get that. So I was pretty bad. And as you can probably guess, I didn't really have a clear reason why I was playing. It was definitely just a time sink or something to do, blow off some steam or whatnot. I honestly couldn't tell you why I was playing. It clearly wasn't a very fulfilling or fun part of my life. And I guess as I became more of an adult and matured a bit, because the league wasn't evolving with me, I was kind of phasing it out of my life. I didn't really see a point in playing. Like I wasn't really getting much out of it. And probably if I didn't find the MLA, I probably would have stopped playing. But I stumbled across a video, a Broken by Concept podcast where they interviewed Ludwig.
Okay.
And he said that he got to platinum in 4 months, and I was like, I've been playing for like a decade and a half, and I haven't even got close. So I guess I didn't have the highest opinion of him, and I thought, well, if he can do it, then so can I. So I joined the program.
Okay, so let's start then with what happened the moment you joined the program, because from my experience, you climbed up from like bronze, silver to I think it was emerald, like incredibly quickly, right? What happened there?
Yeah, so when I joined the program, I went from bronze. I was bronze 2, and I went to emerald 4 in I think 5 months. So really quick. And basically, when I came into the MLA, I was just fully on board with the mantras and the standards that the program set. I started with Kassadin because I think that was just what I was playing at the time. I played 70 games straight of Kassadin. Then I played 70 games straight of Echo. And I think the way that I was doing it was really good because it got me away from thinking about the LP. The main goal was actually to hit 70 games of Echo, and then I could go on to the next thing. And the coaches were really good because there was this clear progression. It was like, I'll play Assassins to learn this part of the game, like Kassadin and Echo, and then after that, well, now I need to learn Skirmisher, so let me go play Galio, which is what I did next. And then I got to gold playing Galio. And then I was like, well, I haven't played a mage yet, so let me play Oriana. And I played around 100 games of Oriana. I got to Platinum after a few months. And then I hit my first stagnation point in Platinum, but then after like a couple boot camps and like just playing more, getting lots of reviews, I actually went from Platinum 4 to Emerald 4 in 5 days. I won 19 out of 20 games. It was like the craziest week of my life. So, you can imagine at this point, I'm thinking like, this league climbing is, piece of cake. It's so easy.
I'm gonna slightly cut it there because I want to personally have a bit of a difference between the Emerald to Diamond climb and the Bronze to Emerald climb, because it's a completely different one, right? And I want you to explain first, like, what changed with your view of the game and your fundamental understanding when you actually made that first climb from like silver to platinum and platinum to emerald. What clicked for you fundamentally?
Yeah. Well, as I said before, I played thousands of hours of the game, so I clearly had a lot of muscle memory stored up.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show you like what a difference it makes when you're actually focusing, when you're actually playing with intention. I think the big 20%er, I actually think it's a 50%er, was the champion pool thing.
Right.
Back before I was playing literally anything and everything. Like I was playing Vayne one game and then I'd play Lee Sin the next game and Yasuo the next game. But playing 70 games of something in a row, and then like you could actually feel the improvement, which is something that I never felt before, because I'd play 10 different champs in 10 different games.
Yeah.
Any improvement that I'd have is completely invisible to me, and it wasn't a fulfilling process at all. But now I could actually feel like, okay, now I'm hitting the 40th game on Kassadin. I'm learning more from this, and I've got these learning objectives that the coach set, and I can actually see that the things I'm focusing on are improving.
Yeah.
So I guess the mindset shift was actually being like, hang on, like, what they're talking about on the podcast, on the BBC podcast, it's legit. Like, I actually can improve at this game, because I thought I actually couldn't. Like, I didn't really see. I just thought I was bad, basically.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So your mindset must have had like a complete 180 switch while you were seeing and feeling yourself improve at the game. Let's talk about that mindset a little bit more, because I feel like there's a lot of older players that generally still feel like I'm bad at the game, I can't improve. And that manifests in different ways, right? Either they get very harsh on themselves, or they become toxic towards others, and they might feel like their teammates are holding them back, but in the end, they deep down know that it's themselves. What would you, if from your experience, because you've lived it very recently, what would you say to players that experience like that?
I think that you almost have to be ready for it. Like, if you gave me the tools and I listened to the podcast like 5 years ago, I don't think I would have been ready to have that attitude change, if that makes sense. I think that every other part of my life was starting to be set in motion. And it was weird that League was this one thing where I thought I couldn't improve, but I just had no lens or no understanding of how to go about it, because I think like they talk about like gaming's not really seen as something that you really improve at. You just play a lot of games, and if you're high rank, you're good, and if you're low rank, you're bad. But I think it was about thinking like, this is just like any other skill. It's like any other hobby. Like, just like I believe that if you work harder at your job, you usually get better at it. If you work harder at a sport, you get better at it. It doesn't really make sense why I did it. That didn't occur to me about games. So I guess that for a lot of people, some people can say it, but it doesn't really mean anything until you've experienced it. And then as soon as I experienced it, it was like, whoa, like that was so obvious. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Okay, very interesting.
A bit of blind faith, I'd say, yeah.
A bit of blind faith. Okay. Because there's also guys, because I'm not sure if you've seen any of the content, right? But there's a lot of random YouTube content popping up recently about the EOMM matchmaking, where Riot basically forces you to be 50% win rate by putting you in losers queue and shit. And that shit's getting traction. I'm not sure if you've seen any of that. Yeah. Have you seen it?
No, I've seen it. Yeah,
you've seen it.
Good.
It's bad, right? And you should see the comments in those fucking videos. Those players, right? If and there's probably a couple of players watching this video here as well that also watch those videos. What would you say to those type of people? Because unfortunately, there's a lot of people that still think the externals are out to get them?
Yeah, man, that's really tricky. I feel like that's a bit of like you've got to be ready for it as well. Because I
Yeah,
think if you're that far down the rabbit
yeah,
hole, like there's nothing that I can say or
yeah.
you can say that's going to really convince them otherwise. But I think the blind faith thing is a good place to start because it's, for example, if you don't like believe in meditation, but
Right.
then you just close your eyes and you do it, right? You make yourself do it for a month, then it doesn't kind of matter whether you believe it or not. You will just start to get improvement, kind of like the gym and things like that. So I guess if you just try the process, even if you don't believe in it for a month, now some people are completely self-sabotage and be like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it doesn't work or whatever. But if you were a bit curious about it, I think that would probably be a good place to start. I don't think you
Yeah,
need to be entirely convinced
yeah.
in order to get the benefits.
Yep, I love that. My advice would be open your mind. Try to experience something else. Try to do something else from what you've done before and just see if it works. Be like a bit of a scientist. Try something new, see if it gets results. And if something gets results, stick to that. Because when other people do it, that means that you can do it as well. Okay, great. Gameplay, right? We've talked a little bit more about the mental aspect right now because you thought that was like one of the most important things together with like the having a solid little bit more champion pool. Did this champion pool, the fact that where you were playing less champs, allow you to also focus on getting consistency in the game fundamentals? And which game fundamentals really stood out to you that you like clicked with, understood, or thought were very important for your climb?
Yeah, so I'd say the one that made me feel like I actually understood League of Legends was I think you mentioned it and also Distortion mentioned it, another coach, was tempo or sinking pressure more specifically. This was a concept that just kind of like I felt like I understood the game after that. Before things would happen, like my team would die and I'm not there and I'd be pinging them back and it wouldn't work and I'd be completely confused as to why the game was playing out like it is. But as soon as I understood that, and it was simple as drawing lines across the screen to see if I was on tempo or off tempo, just everything started to make more sense, if that made sense. Like there's obviously small improvements I made with my lane and mid game and all that kind of stuff, but the last time my mind was really blown was definitely tempo. And I think you can't do that if you're on a new champ. You're thinking about, piloting it. But then when you've got some champ mastery, you can really just see like where am I, where's my team, and the game and reviewing the game becomes a lot simpler.
Yeah.
If there's a fight that happens and you're not there, you're able to really understand why.
Yeah, I love that. Very good. So let's go a little bit deeper back into your journey, right? Because the first 5 months after you joined the program, you got into Emerald, and now we are, I think, 14 months later, and you've
Yeah.
you've reached Diamond. So that's a pretty big difference because in 5 months you went from Bronze to Emerald 4, and then 14 months later you went from Emerald 4 to Diamond 4. A lot of people may be wondering, did you get worse? Did you stop playing?
Yeah.
How was
I
your
definitely
journey
got worse for a bit. Well, I knew that it was going to be tricky because I remember Curtis mentioned and other coaches say like that platinum is a bit of a holiday rank. Like if you get to platinum, you're most likely going to get to emerald eventually, but many people stay in emerald for years. So even mentally preparing myself with that, it was still so much tougher than I expected just because I think the big reason why it was so tough for me was because when I joined the MLA, what got me the most results was playing these different archetypes. So 70 games of an assassin, 70 games of a skirmisher, 70 games of a mage, and every time I'm just picking up things. Like I'm seeing the game in an entirely new perspective. But once I got to Emerald, I'd played all the archetypes. There wasn't like a champ that I could pick up and I'm just learning things every single game. Like it was about refinement. It was about like picking a champ and actually getting into the nitty gritty and not just getting improvements simply by playing and repetition and things like that. So like I even considered at some point switching roles. I remember talking to you about that because I was trying to stick with what worked for me, which was just changing and then getting these huge benefits. But what I had to learn was that what got me to Emerald was not what was going to get me to Diamond.
Yeah, what a really funny thing is that you got the Emerald and then you were Tim. I wanna learn LeBlanc, right? And I'm the designated LeBlanc coach, of course.
Yeah.
in the program. So you learned LeBlanc. You went. I think you went on a different account, or you like dropped from Emerald 4 to like, I don't know, where did you drop to?
Gold 1, I think. Yeah, all the way down to gold. Yeah, she's tough.
Yeah, she's fucking tough, right? So you dropped the gold one, and you basically did this journey that you did before on LeBlanc again. So you did your LeBlanc to Emerald, and then you basically just went to Emerald on other champs. Now you tried a different champ, different archetype, went to Emerald again, but you kept stuck at Emerald. You couldn't really go any further there, right?
Yeah, I did the math before, and I actually spent twice as much time in Emerald 4 than the rest of my climb combined. Like that's including in other parts of Emerald. So it was always Emerald 4 that I'd get stuck in. Okay. And yeah, you're right. I cycled. I picked up Victor afterwards. I picked up TF. And it was always like I'd start at like a gold level and I'd get my way up to Emerald. And then that would take 100 games. And, you know, after 100 games, I'd be kind of sick of the champ. And I'd be like, well, I'm not higher than I was before, so I better just cycle to a new one, right? It doesn't really make sense in hindsight, but it's what worked for me before. But yeah, I basically got I mean, you know, there would have been invisible learnings that I'm getting here and there, but I wasn't able to push any higher for months and months.
Great. So what eventually allowed you to then take that step from Emerald 4 to Diamond?
Well, it was a little bit serendipitous. Like it was a bit of a circuit breaker because I picked up Ari. So I learned the tempo and I was like, I'm sick of missing my Orianna ults. Like I'm going to pick up a champ that I think might be a bit easier in Ari. And the champ just completely clicked with me. So it allowed me to get out of Emerald 4 and into the higher parts of Emerald. I think I got all the way to Emerald 1. And that's when I started to realize that I couldn't really just like cycle champs in Emerald 4 because I wasn't like I was improving more from just being in better games, if that made sense. So I really stuck with her and I tried to just push with Ari, and I was getting a lot of boot camps and a lot of coaching sessions on her, but it was about really like doubling down on a champ to get to those better games.
Right. And when it comes to you doubling down on Ari, right? Let's just, for people that don't understand it, Ari is like your stock standard mid laner. She's like your jack of all trades. She can do anything. She's got all of the options and she's incredibly flexible. But this also means that she pictures your strength of the fundamentals as well, right? Your strength of the fundamentals will be shown as your quality of gameplay in the game. And what we'll then find is that if you put a lot of mastery on Ari, the rest is just fundamentals, right? You being able to push through is you getting better at the game. What were the key things, like you already mentioned tempo, was there other key things that you noticed in game that clicked for you, or you thought, well, ooh, this is really helping me succeed?
I think that's spot on. I think that Ari is a real jack of all trades, and that is how my league journey was, and that's how I am as a player. You know, I think I've got pretty good at accepting when game states were bad. So, for example, if I'm losing lane, I would just be like, right, that's okay. I'm just gonna try to push the wave out and maybe play with my jungler, or maybe I'll just sack a couple waves and I'll try to roam and play around my top lane or things like that. So I think in terms of like specific skills, everything was probably at a pretty average level, but because I was pretty decent at everything, and I think that's maybe from playing lots of different champs, or maybe that's just who I am as a player, I think Ari really complemented that because it kind of gave me options, and even if I was getting blasted in lane, there were still ways in which I could be relevant in the game. So I think it was the balance of Ari that really clicked with me, yeah. Okay,
great. And eventually, right, you got into high Emerald. What eventually got you to Diamond? What made the jump easier?
So I'm kind of painting it a little bit like nicer than it was, because I got to Emerald 75 LP and I got an Aegis game. Emerald 1, yeah.
Okay.
And I got an Aegis game and I was jungle and I didn't know you needed a B. So I won the game and I got my phone ready. I was ready to take screenshots and write up my ranked achievement posts and everything like that. And I realized I was actually 5 LP off. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll just play the next game. I'm not going to let this define me. But sure enough, I was back in Emerald 2 like by the next day. And for the next like few weeks, I was desperate to get to diamond. I basically created an unsustainable process to try to get diamond in the short term. So what I meant by that was like I would only play if I was super high intensity. Like I would just like make sure I'd play league before I did my work to make sure I was most focused. And every game I was so locked in, like I was like felt exhausted afterwards. And I didn't hit it. And it made me feel like that in order to get to diamond, that's what it took. I need to do that, but more. So it wasn't a very long-term approach at all. So it actually made me go back to the old method of, so I think I then cycled like Kiana and Zoe and Rise and all this kind of stuff because I like completely lost perspective because I somehow convinced myself subconsciously that, okay, getting to diamond is doing exactly what I was doing, but even more intense. And I was like, well, I can't keep doing that. It's just crazy to me. But then I guess when I was cycling those champs and I really wasn't enjoying myself, I was no good at Zoe or Kiana or anything like that. I realized all I was doing was procrastinating, and I was basically just putting off the issue, which was climbing again. And it seemed like such a big mountain because I was back in Emerald 4 and I was thinking, well, I'm going to have to put so much effort in, it's going to be so exhausting. But when I came back to it, I realized it didn't have to be at all. Like I'd put all this pressure and all these expectations on myself, and I was convincing myself that I wasn't improving, even though I went from Emerald 4 to Emerald 1 because of my expectations at the time. In my mind, I hadn't improved, I hadn't climbed at all. So just having that freedom, the second time it almost just like happened. So yeah.
Well, yeah, it's so interesting. So what I notice a lot when I'm talking to you here is that there's a lot of mental games going on during the climb.
Yeah.
Like there's so many narratives, so many inhibiting factors, and that tug at you and make it harder for you to continuously progress. Would you say that that this is probably the biggest issue that you've learned and overcome and that's helped you climb your mindset towards the game and your mentality?
Yeah, yes and no. I'd say that it's my biggest strength as well as my biggest weakness. I think I just put a lot of thought and a lot of time into it, and it can definitely lead me astray at times, like I just described earlier.
Yeah.
But I think that I think ultimately that the biggest problem that I was having was like a bit of self-doubt. Before I started the climb to diamond, I was like, okay, I know it's going to be difficult. I know it's going to take a while. But even knowing that, it still kind of beat me down. And I guess I had this anxiety. I went back and checked some old posts and messages that I sent to you. And a lot were based around like, will I ever get there? Like, will this just be another year, of being an emerald and all this kind of stuff. So even though I was saying, okay, just stick to the process, like, I felt like I was doing all the right things and I wasn't getting any results. Now, in life, usually if you spend a year doing something and you don't get any results, even though I didn't see it, usually you'd be a fool to continue doing that. But what I actually needed to do was to stick it out. So it can be a total mental battle in terms of, do I need to change my approach because it's not working, or do I need to stick it out? How long do I stick it out for? And when I'm not playing league, a lot of the time I'm thinking about it, something I'm very passionate about. So it would just kind of tick in the back of my mind, like, do I need to change things? Do I need to play more? Do I need to VOD review more? Do I need to change champs? All this kind of stuff. And in the first half of my climb, it was very simple. Play one archetype, then another archetype, but then later, when there's a lack of guidance, it becomes so much more of a mind game. Yeah.
Great. So let's talk a little bit about that guidance, because of course, part of your climb has also been through the MLA, especially when you've been climbing. What did you think was like the things that from the program that helped you the most in regards to the coaching sessions, the other resources? What helped you unlock yourself?
Yeah, so I think that I heard Tyler One say, and I've heard some high elo people say, is you don't need coaching because everything that you need to know about the game is online. Like, it's all free. And I completely agree with that. But the thing is, there's so much information online that you literally don't know where to start. You don't know what's truthful and what's not. If you showed me a skill cap video back in before I joined the MLA in one of your videos, I wouldn't know which one is the good video, which one is credible, and what advice to follow. It'd just be completely overwhelming. So I think basically it just validates everything that is being said. It allows you to just not have to filter through the information like when you're watching on YouTube, like, oh, is this legit? Who is this guy? You're just able to kind of absorb it like you're in university or like you're in school, and just allows you to completely commit to learning. So I found that super helpful. I could watch the guides and just the sole focus was absorbing the information. So I think just the structure and the guidance and everything like that was, the content's very good, but it was the structure and everything just made it such an easy learning experience.
It made it tailored to you, to what you need and to your current journey in the ranks.
Yeah, exactly. And like the messaging to mentors and things like that, like just surrounding yourself with people who were high achievers in League of Legends, it just rubs off on you.
Yeah, really good. And another thing is I want to talk about is the coaching itself, right? What did you like the most about the coaching? What did you find most valuable in the coaching sessions?
Well, I actually think the best coaching that I've gotten, and not just saying that because I'm on your channel, was the sessions that we did on LeBlanc. I think that the fact that, again, I always bring it back to structure, but we started off with an early lane and then we went to late lane and then we went to mid game. It just felt like the great thing about coaching is when you get those one things to focus on, you're really able to see the improvement week by week. So even you were able to see, like when I brought the next VOD, you were able to tick off on the laning. And that part, even though it was the same rank or maybe even a lower rank, it was very motivating and it was very fulfilling to practice and play the champion. So I think that focus that coaches give is fantastic because, when you see the coaches online, they'll criticize 100 different things and you'll be thinking, wow, this guy's so smart. But, at the end of the day, like you're not going to think of those things in game. But if you get those 1 or 2 nuggets from a session that are tailored to you, as you said, it just does itself. Like it's really good.
Yeah, I think I want to go a little bit deeper on that because those coaches online, they actually do a really good job depending on their target audience. If you coach a fucking challenger player or a pro player, right, you can say everything, dude. They'll understand it. But if you coach someone that doesn't have this extremely big picture view of the game, then it's going to be insanely overwhelming, of course. And I remember when we did these LeBlanc sessions with you, I remember you brought me that first vault and every single trade that you took was just ass. It was just bad. So, and since LeBlanc is such a snowballing champion, what we did is we just fully focused on those trades. We went back to every trade, went deep. We explained the mindset, how to go about it. And I also said, just bring me another VOD in like 2 to 3 weeks and we just do the exact same thing. I remember we did 3 sessions of just purely trading. And then the third session, you brought me a VOD. I think you even brought me multiple VODs, right? Because then we could get more examples. And it just started to look good in those sessions. You're trading, the mindset, you using your spells. It just started to look good. And you saw it yourself as well. That allowed us to move on to the next thing. And then we went towards translating leads, which was, of course, also a bit of a unique topic. And eventually mid-game, which was a complete fucking shitfest, of course, right? Yeah, but I really like that structure of coaching as well. That was good. That was really, really nice. Final thing, right? What did you learn about yourself in this entire climbing process? How did you evolve as a person?
So I was thinking about this before. I think that it was less about what I learned about myself and more about what I learned I could be, if that makes sense. Like, I was able to apply a lot of the things that, because it wasn't like these things were inherent to me. These are like learned and developed, a growth mindset, the like confidence of skill acquisition. I've been able to pass on to other hobbies in my life. Just the knowledge and like really seeing the evidence that hard work and dedication to something can pay off. And I think that before this, I'd never really failed at something so much and kept going. And I think that it was so incredibly meaningful when I hit Diamond. It felt a lot better than I actually expected. And I think that was because it was so tricky. When I hit Emerald, it felt great, and my ego got a great boost because I did it so quick and all this kind of stuff. But for Diamond, even though I was doing a victory lap and telling everyone I could, it really felt very personal for me. Like, I just felt like I was really proud of myself. So I think that learning that how good that feels. I think that I mean time will tell, but I hope that has a very positive impact on my life. And the final thing, I think it's like I think it really helped me understand my passion. So my job is like addiction researcher, like I do a lot
Right.
of research on addiction, and the way that everyone treats gaming addiction is the goal is always to get people to stop gaming. But from being in the MLA and from my own experience, I've been able to see that people can have a bad relationship with games and actually continue playing games but repair their relationship with games. So I think learning that as well has really opened my mind to how gaming can be a really fun and productive hobby, and it shouldn't always be demonized. It can really have a place in someone's life, and I'm very happy that it has a place in mine.
Amazing. And since you've, went through the journey yourself, if you could give advice to an platinum or like just average gold, platinum, emerald league player that wants to climb but is currently struggling and not really seeing any progress, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say that like it's the struggle that makes it worth it. As I said before, if it would have been nice to hit diamond before, but like 4 months ago, but it was so much more meaningful having to overcome adversity and to really challenge myself. I mean, you've got to find your own personal reason for playing, but for me, that's what makes the game and the gaming experience so special. So, and even when I think about the games, I never even remember the games in which I won to promote. It's always the games that I lost to promote that I remember so vividly. And I think that really shows like how much that colors your journey, how much those failures color your journey. If it's all smooth sailing, it's really not that memorable. It's really not that interesting either. If someone just goes straight to challenge or whatever, it's impressive, but there's really nothing that other people can relate to or other people can really, draw from. So I think you're not only learning more about yourself, but you can also learn things that you can pass on to other people.
Love that. Thank you so much for your time, Ben. Really enjoyed talking to you about your journey. It was very insightful for me and everyone watching. So, yeah, really appreciate you taking the time to
Thank you for having me.